Hello. So, down at Power Engineering today, there's no mic because no one's allowed to leave the house or go anywhere near each other. So I've got the estate on the ramp, and today I'm going to be replacing this with this. So this was a little treat yourself from Turbo Dynamics. Had an old Evo 4 core rebuilt with this is a 9-blade high flow turbine wheel, a bit more modern than the old school 12-blade that was on it. It's a 20G 6-blade compressor wheel, billet of course. It's about 4mm bigger on the inducer, but the same size exducer, but should have extended tips from like 68mm to 71mm, something like that. So it's sort of around GT2867, GT2871 sort of spec, but with a twin scroll housing, and yeah, cheap. So yeah, had a great service from Turbo Dynamics, turned it around really quickly, and yeah, should liven this right up. So along with the turbo today, the other thing I've got to do is try and fix the exhaust. When we had the engine and box out the other day, I had to wear the engine slightly further length forward. I ended up having to modify the exhaust, and I'll show you in a bit where I dented it to clear the sump, and I dented it in completely the wrong place. So here I have some bits and pieces that I'm kicking around, a flexi, a V-band clamp to make it easier to take it apart in the future, and some straight. Hopefully I'm trying to replace the wonky center section where it used to go around the gear selector, but now that it's on cables, it can sort of just go wherever really. So yes, if you see someone else floating around in this video as well, it's Steve. He lives with me. It's fine, we can be near each other. You'll have to bear with me as well. Hopefully Mike, I give him like 1,030-second clips instead of some long ones. But yeah, I'm sure if he was here as well, he'd probably show you around what else I was doing at the minute, other than just playing about with my own car. So also bought these the other day as well, some Crackle centers, 15-inch, will fit into my Schmidt dishes, which is pretty cool because, you know, I want to be like Mike, like everyone wants to be like Mike. So I have to go with the Crackles. Unfortunately, there is only a pair, and they are absolutely rare as, so chances of finding another set are probably pretty slim. So if you see my car with different wheels front and back or left or right, don't be surprised. These are a couple of cones I'm making for another couple of dual plenums as well. Started off as a 3-inch pipe with big sections cut out of it, and then sort of welded back together. They're sort of about 70% complete. The billet flange that Dan ST Engineering does. This is one's for an ST 170. No injector holes. The first one I did, he drilled the injector holes in, and makes welding them a little bit tight around there. So I thought I'd weld this one up and then drill them myself. And yeah, this is just a box of bits that are going to be inlet manifolds. Now we're trying to get some of the underside off. The top is stripped, but in true fashion to this car, everything's in the way of everything else. Let's get to watch. So yes, you can see now an engine mount in the way of the boost pipe. You come around this side, and just everything is just close to everything. So this is actually an old Power Engineering divided downpipe, so the turbo just exits into the 3-inch, and then the wastegate exits and just marries up. Who knows if it makes any difference, but I think it looks pretty cool. And if you look under here, here's where it's all a bit close to the sump. Here's the big dent I put in it, which should have been at the top. And here's a little dent I then couldn't put in it because there was a big dent. So yes, this whole section is just going to be replaced because it's pretty knackered. It's a shop, just everything's awkward. This bolt, especially awkward. turbos now. This one's off. This is the standard one. This is a 48mm inducer compressor wheel, just the standard high mileage Evo 6 RS turbo. And then yeah, this is the new one. So yeah, 52mm inducer. So should get well into the 400 horsepower area on this as well. Obviously, because it's not on an Evo, I don't have a J pipe, so I've just got this little adapter to a 2-inch boost hose, forge actuator, because they're good. I'm hoping in the future I can run this more like a wastegate, and I'm going to try and put a fitting in here as well, put a smaller spring in it, and try and run it on a 4-port boost control solenoid, which should give me really, really good boost control. But yeah, not quite sure yet if that's going to work. Just noticed as well, these little tabs on the bracket have both broken, so yeah, nice one, Forge. I'll sort that out as well while it's off. If we flip it over, alright, you can see in the back, you can't really because it's so sooty, hang on. Hey presto, here we have a bit of light. So yeah, you can see the standard turbine wheel there. You see really close, you might not be able to see it. There's a big chip out of that as well. So I'm sure a lot of people would say, you can't run a chip turbine wheel, but you know, I run this turbo with the actuator pipe blown off, absolutely flat out, probably doing like 36 pound of boost in mid-range, like compressor surge, felt really, really, really fast. And yeah, never has it got any worse. So yeah, I think these turbos are pretty indestructible, to be fair. This is also the turbine housing that I had refurbished at Turbo Dynamics as well, because the wastegate was slipping round and the actuator pipe would come loose and it would just get really rattly for like a weird, for whatever. But yeah, so they sorted that out a couple of months ago, hence why I just have a core and compressor housing here. Just to show you again, the 9-blade high flow wheel. So yeah, just going to swap all these bits over, probably have a cup of tea, and get it back on the car. So I couldn't resist taking the compressor housing off, even though I probably should have done, just to admire the billet wheel. I might be a bit hard to get in the view. You can sort of see how much further the tips come out compared to the actual base of the wheel itself. That's probably better looking down at it like that. So the base itself is for 68mm wheels, and the tips of the blades actually measure closer to 74mm. So once I actually had this apart, I kind of thought to myself, well, I might as well do a little bit more of the smoothing process and just try and make it a little bit better. Originally I had fully intended to polish this, but as I want to fit it and I don't have all the mops here to get in all the gaps and stuff, this will have to do. So I just sort of smoothed it off a little bit more. Just went round it with the on the satin mop, and yeah, I think it looks damn sight better than a standard housing. It's not perfect, but realistically, who's going to look at it that closely? So yeah, I'm going to put this back together, then I'm going to take this apart, and then rebuild this one, and then put it back on the car. Oh, and the other thing, I was actually going to weld an end on this to make up for this, but then I got a little bit nervous about distorting it. This was a bit close and to the pin rounded. So yeah, this will have to do. Going to spot these little cracks up. The machine set on DC. A little number 5 cut. I'd use something a lot bigger if I was actually doing some welding, but just for little spots like this it'd be alright. Luckily the bracket's stainless steel, not painted, so nice and easy. So yeah, there we go, just had a couple of tacks on there, nothing fancy, done. Right, so I've got a few more bits done while my GoPro is on charge because I've pretty much flattened the battery already. So yeah, turbo is all ready to go. Painted this little bit here because I know Mike could have made me do that, so I thought I'd just do that preemptively. So turbine housing's all on, oil drains on, new gaskets, blah 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 blah, and yeah, pretty much ready to go. Also, while it was off, I didn't actually get a before shot, probably should have done really, so you could see the difference. I've always thought about the fact that this was just like an oval hole, so I sort of ported this out more to the shape of the actual wastegate. Don't know if it would improve flow. I think every little bit helps, so yeah. So yeah, haven't cut this bit off yet, this mess, but that's next. Well, not next, but soon. So, got the exhaust starting to sort of work this out again. We're going to have a bit of a remodel with a downpipe. This is what I've got at the minute with a slip joint onto here, and it's just not really that great, to be honest. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this to about here. I'm going to mount that in there, so there's no join before the lambda sensor. It's not so important with the gauge, but when I go to my new ECU with a lambda sensor and closed loop fueling, then it'll be a bit more important. I'm then going to use this V-band, so this will be like probably like here. Then I'm going to use this flexi to make it all nice, and just generally try and improve the car. Fingers crossed it all works and doesn't fall apart and doesn't take me hours and hours and hours. So here's a trusty bandsaw, a bit dimly lit up here, but yeah, just an old Draper one, does the job. This is what new bit's going to look like. These nice eBay special interlocking V-band kit. It's alright. It's flexi, which Mike had kicking around because he wanted to run race car solid exhaust, whereas I'm now going for comfort. Yeah, I've got this back up here all cleaned up, a bit close to the stump still, but not a lot I can do about that. So yeah, now I'm just going to try and poke this bit on here, try and aim it towards the centre of the car, and hope for the best. This is where I'm at, which all looks pretty good, except how low it actually hangs down, including the V-band clamp. So, might have made a bit of an error here. Not sure what I'm going to do about it yet. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think, even with my increased ride height nowadays, I don't think it'll be long before that clamp is ripped off. Maybe the V-bands weren't a great idea. Yeah, back to the drawing board. So I've just given up the whole idea. Just cut this off. It's about the length it was before. Just going to weld it up and then just hope that everything fits back on again. Yeah, that'll do. It's not perfect, but it's solid. That's all that matters. So that's back on, just how it was before, just with a new section there. I just couldn't be bothered to sit here and try and work out doing it with the flexi because it was just going to, between the gear cables and the road, it just, yeah, whatever. Anyway, all back on now, all done up, all nice and tight. Good clearance around everything. Now that there's no casting there as well, you can see how much extra clearance there is between the turbo and where the bolt used to be for the bell housing. I didn't have a bolt in there because if I ever need to take a gearbox out, I couldn't actually get the bolt out. So yeah, let's get it on the floor, do the top, job done. Now it's ready to go back on the floor. Looks like just crammed in there. This outlet on the housing here is smaller than the other turbo I had. So now I can't fit the intake pipe. Great. Found all of these upstairs. These are all of the joiners that I've got and the reducers, but obviously none of them are the right size. So I think I'm gonna have to put some of this bit on like that to take up the slack, and then put essentially what will be this over the top of that and just clamp it all up and hope for the best. It's not the right way of doing it, but it get me out of trouble. Sleeve, there we have it, the little sleeve. So hopefully that'll just increase it enough to get the main pipe on. And there we go. Like I said, it's not right, but it'll get me out of trouble. This turbo was more responsive, that would be a massive lie. I also have the boost controller disconnected. We're probably only running about 12 psi. sign off. I'm sure Mike would want me to say hit like and subscribe. The merch is somewhere. I think there's a button. I don't really know, but yeah, peace out.